Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the shadow side of the patch notes, which is the nerfs. Now, sometimes there has to be nerfs in order to address certain archetypes that are just too strong in general. So if you want to throw out hundreds of new skills, obviously you have to tone down some of the crazy skills that everybody played last league to make space and room for people to play new stuff and not feel bad about it. Perfect segue into number one of the nerfs, which is Lightning Arrow and Tornado Shot. Moving on. Number two, Kaom Spirit, and oh boy, this might be the biggest one of them all. As we know, Kaom Spirit was used with, honestly, most builds. If we look at how many people played, I think last time I said it was 13% or something. Yeah, so 13% of top builds are playing Kaom Spirit right now. That's kind of insane. So understand why they nerfed it. Now, you remember in my prediction video, I said they're going to nerf it from 100 to 150, right? And GG said, well, that's pretty cute. Actually, we're not planning on anyone playing these. So that's what they achieved. Nobody is going to play these anymore. What does that mean? So, PoE gets nerfed, but they can still use Rampage Gloves, so it's not as big of a deal as you might think. Shadows and Dust, Flesh and Spirit, right? Null and Void, these still exist, and people are using mostly Shadow and Dust. Sure, you could argue the defensive side of Berserk, right? But let's be honest, I've seen the average bow player, they don't care. The movement speed being gone, it's more conditional now on Rampage, but that shouldn't really be a problem because most build players are just looking for a good clear skill. So while I think it's going to be a downgrade, for sure, it's also going to probably be easier to get corruptions on some of these cheaper gloves. I think the biggest hit we'll see is probably for Guardians in general. After you go Radiant Crusade, Unwavering Crusade, and Bastion of Hope, which, I mean, unless you're doing something with Unwavering Faith, which right now is pretty underpowered, that's usually your go-to for the first three. You're gonna usually grab Time of Need and get free Kaom's Spirit uptime because you get the 100% life over 1 second every 4 seconds. With the changes, don't even think about it. This comes out to like 4 Rage Regen on average. From this effect, you would have to get so much more. In my opinion, not even on Guardian, it's still worth going Kaom's Spirit, which might be a problem because the next option, this is a link node, right? The next option is Radiant Faith, so I'm not really sure what they're going to do. Maybe some Guardians are actually going to spec into Unwavering Faith and they're going to cut Bastion of Hope because Time of Need is not really there anymore. Overall, SRS Guardians still really strong. Some of them already didn't take Time of Need, but it definitely decreases your options. Next up, Heatshiver. Heatshiver got knocked down from 100% of cold damage with extra fire against Frozen to 30%. Some people think it's a very extreme nerf. Obviously, it's an extreme peg down, but Heatshiver is still good on some of the builds that it was run. It's just not going to be an auto-include on everybody. It's not going to be worth it to, like, do some kind of freeze duration stuff, sacrifice your body armor, or annoyance stuff. That's probably not going to be worth it, but just for the chill alone, it's already quite good. It gives you a little bit of rest on top. It has corruptions. It's a crazy nerf, don't get me wrong, for stuff like bows, ice trap, frostblade, shockwave, totems. Down the road, that there is a lot more of those builds obviously out there. But the biggest thing that people forget about this nerf is Trinity. Heatshiver made it so kind of you have this equilibrium of fire and cold damage. Whenever you didn't have the freeze up, you could kind of see that quite easily because you didn't have Trinity up sometimes. So that is a little bit gone. You can still make it work. You might have to use stuff like Anger or a little bit of added fire damage to make it work now, but that is even more work to get Heatshiver into your build. Now, number 4 is actually a bug fix. Returning Projectile support got bug fixed. If you guys remember, before the league started, I basically defended saying that this is not going to work on Poison because it's not worded like GMP. It isn't less projectile damage. It is less damage with projectiles, and that should usually encounter everything while returning. So I was thinking there's no way this works with Poison. Turns out it did, and it was a bug, or they just made it a bug. I have no idea, but it makes sense for me that it was a bug in general. I'm a little bit butthurt because I had a Poison Lightning Striker lined up for my league start, but after I saw all the new gems, it's like I forgot about it already. I already have it, like, it's deleted everywhere. It's fine. But yeah, Poison got nerfed with returning projectiles. This used to give you a nice 100% more damage for a support gem. It does not anymore. It's now still okay, but it's more so for clear. Molten Strike, nice. All right, so Lightning Strike, Molten Strike, and also EK. Now, out of these three, I think EK will be also nerfed. Obviously, so for example, Lightning Strike and Molten Strike got nerfed by, I think, 35% less damage if you count also the anomalous returning projectiles in. EK is probably still fine because poison spellcasters have been good. They have a lot of early scaling that these builds don't have until they get to Poison Dagger. For example, Ming's Heart or CIP, stuff like that. They're going to do well. They scale with gem levels. But for these builds, they really needed that early game push. And don't get me wrong, Poison LS and Poison MS are still going to be fine in late game once they have the gear. In fact, there's a new tincture that gives you poison on weapons now, on any weapon that you want. So it's going to be good, but I'm not going to risk that. I don't know when I'm going to get that tincture, and I am going to miss the more multiplier. So for me, it's going to be a nope here. Still a change that I understand. Number 5, Spark. So Spark lost quite a bit, which isn't that obvious at first. The obvious one is it lost Phantasmal Spark, which used to be basically the way you play Poison Spark. So if we look right here, in total with an Ashes of the Stars or a Dialas, you could get to 100% lightning damage converted to chaos. This could now be a Transfigured gem, right? There's a good chance actually they're going to do that, or they're just going to kill the archetype. Either or. I just want to focus on Spark for now. Spark lost around about 90% of its proc speed. And I don't mean in total, I just mean 90% of it is gone. So if you look right here, you lose 19% projectile speed from the gem and then 20% from equality. You have to remember though that you would not have a level 20 Spark. You would have like a level 26, 27, 28, or even up to 30 in endgame. So it's actually a little bit more. And the rest of the proc speed loss, and this is a thing some people forgot, is Blooded Sand doesn't have its anomalous quality anymore. And it isn't, as far as I know, one of these skill gems, active skill gems. I don't know if auras maybe get them. I think they mentioned that somewhere. Very unlikely that we're going to get this back is what I'm saying. This with Enhance used to give you around about 50%, up to I think 53, 54% as well. So you're losing all of that. And that is on a build that, if you're not talking poison, is mostly played in the Templar region. And even if you're poison, you're not getting that much projectile speed, because most of the projectile speed is actually tied to projectile damage nodes, which don't scale your damage. Tattoos are gone. Do not forget about that. That was a big saving grace for Spark last league, especially for Pathfinder Sparker. They would path around, but it wouldn't matter. Every pathing point gives you 8% proc speed. But we don't know the Transfigure gems. Once again, even if they kill Poison Spark, I would find it a pretty good idea if they have one Spark that, I don't know, maybe shoots a huge Spark that is like for single target damage. Maybe it can even overlap or something. And they would have one version that has, I don't know, plus 150 prod speed, but reduced damage so you can juice it up for endgame. That would be pretty cool, but we'll have to see. Number 6, Sanctum. So the drop rates for the Forbidden Tomes, which is what you open the Sanctums with, and the Hour of Divinity and Gilded Chalice, which are the duplicate reward relics, have been nerfed. Now, I don't know what reduced means. It could mean anything, but usually if it's really crazy, they say a drastically reduced. So I'm just going to assume it's not crazy. Maybe it drops half as often, which I think would be totally fine. I mean, paying 10C for something that gives you these kind of crazy returns up to like mirrors, it is kind of silly if you compare it to something like logbooks, for example. And I mean, Hour of Divinity, Gilded Chalice, I understand they don't want as many duplicated mirrors. It's still gonna happen, so we'll still get those highlights. Overall, I don't think this is gonna change that much. It's still gonna be fine. It's a needed nerf, but Sanctum is still gonna be a top mechanic to do. And the people who like Sanctum also like it for not having to trade. They just get raw divines, mirrors sometimes. It's pretty hype. It's easy content, easy money. So I think it's good that it stays in the game. Some honorable mentions here at the end that I found to be important to include is, first up, the Herald of Agony alt quality. So a lot of, especially the poison spellcasters, were using Divergent Herald of Agony, which gave another 20% global chance to poison. This is a big deal. It works with Asenath Explosion, and it works with spells. So it was great, right? Even on attack-based builds, you would seek it out. Now you're going to probably need medium clusters in order to actually cap your chance to poison, or you have to run Dendrobate. Then we have accuracy stackers. This is a little bit not really on the radar right now. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but accuracy stacker did lose this one. And that was a big deal, because not only is it the 4% attack damage per 1,000 accuracy, it's actually more because you put it in a bow with extra quality, or wherever you put it, that gives you even extra quality. So you're losing 6% attack damage per 1000 accuracy, which I can just tell you comes out to a lot. So that's a pretty big nerf to accuracy stackers. And then also the mana leech support. So if you don't know, a lot of mana stackers that have some kind of attack involved, for example, Mjolnir builds or even mana forged arrows, have mana leech with the anomalous version that give you increased damage for each 200 mana you've spent recently. This makes it so that the attack that it's supported to can, first off, mana leech, which spells cannot. Your damage still comes mainly from spells. But this makes it so your attack also deals a lot of damage. This can give you like 1000% increased damage. So even your tiny Cyclone will probably get you to leech cap. And so you can leech attacks, which on a spell build is crazy to be able to get mana leech. You can even get instant leech, which also counts for mana. So overall, quite a big nerf to that archetype as well. But that's about all I got. Obviously, we could go on forever. Every helmet chant, threshold jewel, and alt call is gone after all. And I'm usually of the mindset that, okay, they decided something gets nerfed. That's my new state. I don't really want to talk about it anymore. That's what they decided. So I'm just gonna see what's next, right? So I'm fine with these. I just wanted to talk about it, what it means for the game, kind of. If I forgot something, definitely mention it down in the comments. But with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.